Hello, hello, hello. Let's get Ian on. Hello, Ian. We've got a special guest today. Are you doing okay?
Yeah, about yourself.
I'm all the better for seeing you.
Cheers.
Things are getting slightly more technical, even though I'm reading off a phone. We've got an intro for our guest instead of saying here she is, here they are, there. Oh, anyway, yeah, come on. Sorry, I've had too much caffeine. Today, Ian, we're speaking to Dr. Joe Whitaker, who is a researcher and speaker specializing in biology, natural health, and electromagnetic science. She's an expert in genetics, oncology, and immunology, and explores how environmental frequencies and EMFs impact living organisms. With Kelly Hinson, she co-founded the Crystal Water Experience, developing tools for energy balance and EMF harmonization. I did it without too many fluffs. Without further ado, let's welcome the amazing Dr. Joe.
Hey
Hello,
guys.
Dr. Joe.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. I did it without making too many fluffs, so I'm pleased with that. How are you, Dr. Joe?
I'm really good, thank you very much. I thought I might miss the beginning because I've got a cat, right? She sits on the keyboard and she pressed a button and it turned it into, when it goes into narrator mode and every single button I pressed it repeated. And you don't know how to undo it, do you? Because the cat's just pressed it, but I figured it out. Thank you, ChatGPT.
You have to be careful. The cat might have been compromised by the CIA.
Probably is.
But, could you tell us about your journey, Dr. Joe? How you came to, evolve into these thoughts and working with frequencies and EMFs and,
Yeah, sure. Well, where is this going to? How far is this going to go out to? I'm just going to choose my language carefully because I don't.
No, you can swear. You can swear. It's no, it's going on YouTube, so you can say what you want. Really, we're not bothered.
Okay, it's just right. I'm gonna talk about this journey quite carefully. So, my first degree is in genetics and microbiology. My master's degree is in oncology. And my PhD is in genetic vaccines back in 2003. And then I worked with science, all sorts of sciences, STEM sciences, engineering across the broad disciplines, bringing new technology to market. So I've worked with very, very big corporations in kind of director and management roles because I love like new innovations. However, when 2020 hit and they were telling people to keep 2 meters apart, put masks on, I was like, well, this isn't science. I don't know where they've got this from, but it certainly isn't from science. And then when they started to tell people that they had to wear, have a genetic vaccine, I was like, well, that's the worst idea in the world because it's already been proven that you won't get a memory B cell response. You have to be repeatedly vaccinated. It will never protect you from an external pathogen. And this was all very well known. So I started the very day they said, I would say I was the first person on social media to speak out about this because this kind of range of disciplines that I'm an expert in, there's not very many people with that broad range and those particular expertises, right? So I started putting publications out on Facebook, real publications, just proving that it was nonsense and it was a very, very bad idea and it would cause side effects and potentially, DNA integration and all this kind of stuff. I didn't even realize how bad it was then, right? And I was censored by Facebook fact checkers. I was like, who are you? Don't you know who I am? Anyway, it became very obvious that there was some kind of agenda because this wasn't truth. How can you ban natural research? And this narrative came out. Actually, my external examiner is Professor Angus Dalgleish, which many of you may know. And what I found was also my friends and family thought I was probably having a nervous breakdown and going mad. And I was like, hang on, I'm the expert. And I realised that these people were having their mind controlled. And there was something very, very intense happening. So I was like, right, I can either accept all that this is going on or I can fight it. And when you find all your friends and family are doing things that's going to negatively affect the rest of their lives, physical lives, and probably future generations, which happens with genetic, injections, I thought, well, there's nothing left to lose, is there? Because if half the world's going to take this or more, what have I got to lose, right? It's like the end of humanity. So I thought, right, and I'm going to fight it. And so there's no consequences. Everything is lost as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to fight it. So how did I fight it? I started researching how to detox people and how to kind of reverse what was going on. And during that process, I found out the 101 different ways that they were poisoning us on a daily basis, which I was not aware of. And I was like, well, how do you detox from this? How do you detox from that? You know, the water, the food, blah, blah, blah. But actually, I found out that detoxing was really about removing energetic fields in your body that were disharmonious to you. And the rules are the same, whether you're detoxing from anything, whether it's from tap water or from, injections, it's the same. And I created a detox protocol, and the first person who tried it was me. And after 3 months, I was at this event where I was talking to people about detoxing and where all the toxins are. This lady was doing some crystal healing. Now, I wasn't into crystals or anything like that, proper scientist, right? And I could see this light coming out of her crystal as she was working with it. And when she put it down, it went. And when I put it on, it was there. And I was like, how are you doing that? That's like, have you got a torch at the end that, when you touch it, a light comes out? And she says, no, what are you talking about? And she said, you must be a seer. And I could see this light coming out. And what I realized was I didn't become magic or a witch kind of overnight. I could see more of the electromagnetic spectrum of light because I detoxed my body. It's not magic, it's science. And so I then investigated, what else is going on in the world? Because I could see a lot more, I could experience a lot more. And then this is where I was researching really into the quantum nature of our reality, the forces of magnetic fields, which physical science seems to completely ignore. They just pay a bit of a nod to it, but they don't really ever factor them into any experiments or anything like this. And since then, I've been on a journey to protect people from the harmful effects of electromagnetic radiation and how to do that. There's a lot of misconstrued ideas out there, and allow people to return to their sovereignty, because your body is your sovereignty. If you don't have control of your body, you don't have control of your mind, you don't have control of your thoughts, you don't have control of your actions. So you get a good handle on that and you start thinking, your brain starts speeding up, your memory improves, everything changes. So that's what I do. And I've created a 5-step detox guide, which teaches people how to go through this process so we can have more magical people who are kind of less enslaved by the system. That's a very small, short, plotted history. A lot's happened between then and now, but hopefully that gives you a good flavour.
That's a great intro. I mean, I love this kind of stuff. This is right in my wheelhouse when you're talking, quantum realities and magnetism and everything else. So far as the protocol, I think that's obviously really important. Maybe we can address that first. Almost everyone that I cared about took that shot. And I was begging them, don't do it. Don't do this. Full of crap. The whole thing doesn't make sense. My dad, my stepmom, all my friends, I think it's like 70% of the world took it, roughly. And so this is, very empowering for somebody that has taken it and probably regrets it now. Where can that be found?
So if you go to our website, crystalwaterexperience.com, which is the name of the company that I set up. So I've got out of working for big corporations, had a very good, well-paid job for a big corporation. And I gave it up to do this, basically. That's a long story short. So it's crystalwaterexperience.com, and then you've got a little slash, and it is detox-guide.
Okay.
And what I found was if you actually put properly charged and mineralized water that was clean in your body, 50% of the detoxing is done, which almost tells you that 50% of the disease and toxic effects of our environment is actually through water, one way, shape or form.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, people just think about water as drinking water. It's like, well, you're cooking with it, your takeaways have got it, your prepared foods have got it, you're getting your vegetables, they're all washed in it.
Yeah. And not even taking into account we're, you know, what, 70%-ish water, and we're taking on external frequencies, 5G towers, smart meters, and all this stuff as well.
Exactly. And when you start pushing that stuff out, because you create water with intention at the right frequency, you can do a lot of magic. So basically, I'll go through the 5 steps. It is miraculous what can happen when you stop drinking the matrix water, as I call it. And then you've got to like get rid of the toxic buildup over years. And the best way to do that is to, on a daily basis, don't put it in your body, because most people are just, you know, we can't avoid everything in the sky. And you know, I keep people saying, oh, but we've got, you know, chemtrails and this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, but you're putting Lynx deodorant on, love. It's like, you're worried about what they're doing. You're doing this to yourself.
Yeah.
Don't get affected by any of that. So, yeah, stop putting crap in, and then start removing some of the longer term toxins that are in there by putting basically binders in from the natural earth. Remove parasitic overload, because you need parasites, and people have to get off this thing about parasites are bad for you. It's like, no, parasites exist in your body to do a job. And excess overgrowth of parasites is because of your body's terrain. If you change your terrain, they won't be there. So what you really need to do is get rid of an overgrowth. And then the final thing is to maybe tweak it with any supplements or whatever you might need. But you got to keep your health. Your gut health is critical. And I don't know what you think about this, but you know, most cells in your body, there are more cells in your body that are not human than are human. So it's not about external, you know, bacteria or whatever, you know, it's about balance. And it's about, you know, you being in balance and harmony with your natural environment, rather than being in balance and harmony with the matrix, which is all this technology, polyester clothes and all this sort of crap around us.
Do you have a specific diet, and if so, does it lean to either plant or carnivore, or is that kind of irrelevant in your protocol?
In this protocol, it's irrelevant.
Okay, so is water the primary, the fundamental of your protocol?
The fundamental part of this protocol is drinking clean, charged, distilled water is one way of doing it, but it needs to be charged and remineralized. Most people are diseased because they either have a lack of something, usually a mineral, and when Celtic sea salt has 86 of your 102 minerals, and you can start getting some of this back. When you start eating organic biodynamic food, which is grown in a way where the soil is not depleted, you start taking on, you know, all the minerals that you need. But mostly detoxing is about not putting toxins in. The number of people that I see, you know, trying to do like a zeolite spray, and then, like I say, having Lynx deodorant or parabens in there, it's like, you're just undoing what you've just done. So a lot of detoxing is about not putting stuff in your body. So the guide really takes people through all those things. A lot of people don't realize that synthetic air fresheners are a toxin. They go through your liver. And so stop using it. Use essential oils. They're cheaper. They're easy to make. Not toxic to your body.
When I go to someone's house and they've got one of them, I'm thinking like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's like being gassed, isn't it? Like with lavender. You know what I mean? It's like in a James Bond film where there's a room squirting poison and stuff like that. But also, Dr. Joe, is the frequency detox you can do, because like I said, we're bombarded with kind of all kind of negative frequencies all around us, and even music has been changed from 440 hertz to, you know, from 432 to 440.
Yeah, I mean, music has been weaponized, hasn't it? And so I've definitely changed my music taste, and you start not being able to listen to some of the music you used to listen to, because it's like once you're in tune, when you start listening to back to 440 hertz music, it's like listening to somebody sing out of tune. It's hard work actually to do it. But in terms of frequencies, there's a lot of work being done on frequencies now. Our work is on quantum frequency. So quantum just means small packets of information. So for instance, sound isn't quantum because we can hear it, it's here, it's big enough amplitude for us to be able to hear. But say the vibrational pattern of hydrogen is quite difficult to hear, but it definitely does have a frequency, and I'd say that's a quantum frequency. And as we're all made of water, now let's just qualify what water is. Water's hydrogen and oxygen. You probably hear that we're 60-70% water, but that's by weight or volume. If you actually look at how much hydrogen and oxygen we're made of, we're pretty much made of hydrogen with some oxygen, a bit of carbon, some nitrogen, and a bit of everything else. We're told we're carbon life forms, but in terms of the amount of carbon atoms we've got in our body compared with hydrogen, it's nowhere near as much. When you understand that hydrogen can be programmed to create a frequency, you understand that we are programmable animals then. So the fastest supercomputers in the world are made of plasma water and silicon dioxide, otherwise known as quartz crystal. They both have the same tetrahedron structure, and that's why they communicate with each other. So it isn't just that we're in water, it's that water is a medium in which hydrogen and oxygen can be programmed. That information is then read by our brain, and it takes that information and turns it into thoughts, feelings, emotions. I mean, we're programmable. So I hate to tell this to everybody listening to this, but you don't have a personality, you have a program. And if you like your program, please carry on with your with your personality. If there's bits you don't like, you can reprogram it, because this all comes, right into, the core of who you are. Your brain is a computer. It doesn't hold memory. It retrieves information.
There's a big, I don't know, almost like a scientific discussion on where consciousness originates. And obviously the classic science says it's in the brain, it's in the chemicals and all this stuff. But I mean, even me and Jimmy reference a file all the time called Gateway Process from the CIA. And even there, the CIA acknowledges that we're actually streaming consciousness millions of times a second. So if you think of it in terms of like your brain is putting out a frequency, it can also be induced by a frequency. And just to give it a real-time reference, people have often gone around and had thoughts pop in their head that necessarily they wouldn't think of, or nothing to do with what they were doing at that time, just a real random thought. And it's almost like we're being subject to the wills of other people through our environment through that way as well. Would you say there's something to that, or?
100%, and there's many patents that say this. Well, let's talk about this on a different level. What we have discovered in our work is something that isn't very widely spoken about. And by the way, I am not feeling suicidal. Anybody ever wants to know?
Same.
Okay. Your biofield is a kind of like a protective bubble, and it depends on how big your biofield is as to your general health. If your biofield, which is almost like a force field, right? This is how you can view it. There are devices now such as BioWell and other products and Kirlian photography that measure life force energy, and you can see this. It's just not taught at school, but it doesn't mean that it's not real, right? And it's not scientifically proven. And if that field is damaged, it means you become hackable. Okay. And if you are grounded to the earth, you are not hackable. And by grounded, I do not mean this in the kind of electrician's term of the word, which means you know, connected to something to remove, you know, a buildup of static electricity. I'm talking the Earth is a magnetic quantum field. So basically, it's a magnetic field containing hydrogen, oxygen, and other minerals, right? Elements, sorry, which have information and a programming. So it is a huge library, a huge quantum library, a huge magnetic field. When you connect to that huge magnetic field, which is what you do when you ground properly outside, not on your lino floor or with these soles on your shoes, you become completely out of the matrix program, right? Because you're connecting to a different field. So you've almost got this situation where we have an artificial matrix grid, which most people are connecting to daily. And the way that you connect to it is by having anything with a lithium battery in. And that's the big thing that you don't hear about, which is why I'll just say my statement now about not being suicidal. It's the lithium batteries in these things. It's nothing wrong with lithium. Lithium is actually an essential mineral. It's very element. It's very important to us. But the way that they make these batteries is they crush them together to make them last a long time. So we want longer battery life. And what happens is whilst there's a natural flow of information, because it's compacted together, you get these fields that collide into each other and create noise, for want of a better word. And effectively, the whole battery has a magnetic field, which is the wrong way round to what your field is. So you have a magnetic field going one way. The battery has a very powerful magnetic field going the other way. And if you want to imagine what this then does to the information flow in your body, you just have to go back to when you were a teenager or went to the fair, which I'm looking at you gentlemen, because it's usually boys that answer this. Do you remember going on the bumper cars? And
Yeah.
and everybody's going the right way and it's all really nice. And it's usually a 14-year-old lad, isn't it? Who gets on and he goes the opposite way round, isn't it? So it just needs a 14-year-old lad going the one way round and they disrupt the flow. Nothing's being removed or taken. You are stopping the flow of information because you've got things going the wrong way. So what does the guy do? He comes out of his, he probably speaks on the speaker, he stopped doing that. Or he comes out, stands on the thing and flips it to make it go the right way round, right? And this is what these mobile phone, earbud, Aura Ring, battery I've got here on my laptop. They're like giant 14-year-old lads disrupting the flow.
Sorry. Is this kind of why? I mean, at least I think a lot of people notice it when you answer your cell phone, you put it up to your face is red hot afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been putting it on speaker now since I read that, but it's really like having a fever for about 30 minutes on one side of your face after that use.
This is right. What we've discovered, and this is going to maybe make people worry, but I'm going to tell you that we actually have a solution because we've understood this. There are no books on it. You won't find this in university teachings or peer-reviewed papers or anything like that because you have to follow the narrative to get in there, right? But what it matters is the battery has got charge in it. If your phone's in airplane mode, it still is bad for you. If you put it on, if you turned it off, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's in your bag or it's in your head. It's irrelevant. It's in your field. As soon as you touch it or put it in a bag on your body or put it in your pocket, you have no biofield. It completely collapses. That means you are now a hackable animal. So how do you fix it? You have to fix it by creating a standing wave magnetic field that counteracts the one on the mobile phone, which basically is the man in the, coming out and telling the 15-year-old lad, the 15-year-old lad's still there, but now he's going your way, right? And that's exactly what we have invented. It was invented in Birmingham 7 years ago. We started the company a year and a half ago when I met Kelly. And we're the only people, as far as I'm aware, with this technology. And we want to get this message out because we can't not use technology, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it. And we found a way of effectively grounding you back to the Earth magnetic field by using a standing wave that allows you to, access it. It's got nothing to do with location. It's all to do with magnetic standing waves and counteracting what's there.
There used to be these things. It was like a sticker that you put on your phone. Were them kind of like a gimmick? It was meant to kind of protect you from the kind of the phone's rays and stuff.
They're still out there, and there's a lot of fake videos. People are using EMF readers.
Yeah.
They're going, oh, they work or they don't. You can't test this with an EMF reader, right? It's nothing to do with EMF readers. There's so much in the truth community that's nonsense. We do live demonstrations. We get people on stage to show the effects of this, because if your magnetic field is effective, your electrical field is effective, right? Because electricity and magnetism are two sides of the same coin. So if I am seeing an effect in the magnetic field, I will see an effect in the electrical field. And your body, your brain works on electricity. That's what your physical body is all about. So we get people on stage and people say, does my sticker work? I bought this and it was, I don't know, £5 or 500 quid. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a magician. I'm a scientist. Let's come and find out. Does it affect your performance of your muscle or not? And we test it. The vast majority we have tested don't work. Right? They don't work at all. But some do. We haven't found any that have been able to work long term like ours. Like the best one, and I'll shout out to them. Best one we found is like a credit card thing called Earth Card, and that was working 2 years later. I've looked at Aries Tech. That seems to last for quite a few months. They've got a new version out, and it is seems better than their first one, actually, because their first one seemed to degrade over time. That's a geometry and material based things. You need three things to create a standing wave. You need the correct geometry, you need the correct material, but you also need an embedded frequency, and that's what makes ours very different. So ours is a sticker, and it just looks like a sticker, right? But it's not like one that's just been made in China. People can't kind of copy this. Well, they could copy the design. It just wouldn't work the same. We found a way to embed a quantum magnetic wave into it. And that's those three things together makes it extremely effective. And we are also not just saying, we do live demonstrations, that's fine. But we also teach people how to measure, because I think we're at the stage now of the game when there's been so many charlatans out there. We have to teach people to do this. So at our last event, we got this lady, she's a personal trainer. We didn't realise she was going to do this, actually. She bought a sticker from us for a phone. But she was a personal trainer, and she went to a gym the next day because she said, everyone's got these smart watches on, and perhaps it's making them weaker. And I was like, it does make them weaker. We need to be able to fix it, because it is useful to have this monitoring, right? You know what? The very next day, because we taught it live on stage, she watched carefully what we did, and no word of a lie, she tested 200 people the next day and could repeat exactly what we saw, that it did weaken the muscle, their technology, and that our technology fixed it. And, when something is observable, measurable, and repeatable, whether or not I can give you a peer-reviewed paper is absolutely irrelevant. It is provable in fact. And that's what we aim to do. We aim to teach people how to do this. People can go onto our website. They can do module 4 of our level 1 course, and we teach you how to do these experiments, because we've got nothing to hide. and we encourage people to do that. And actually, guys and dolls, if you get green leaves from a tree, it doesn't matter where the tree's from, and you repeat the experiments that we teach you how to do, and you put them in your shoes, you put them under your phone, it will work. The trouble is, it only works for a few hours. The leaves become black because it's contrary to life force energy, and they go black very quickly. And so I say to people, look, if you want to protect yourself for free, go and pick yourself some leaves and put them in your shoes every day. But most people, like $29.99 for a sticker. I'm getting bored of going to pick leaves and put them in my shoe. Yours never runs out of charge. It's a lot easier to do. So we want to get the information out, the truth out there. And if it keeps the lights on for us and we can protect as many people as possible, brilliant. But we also want to share the truth.
I'm sold. Where can I get one of these from? Is it on your? Is there a link? One of the links I put below. Can I buy one of these?
Links that you put below, yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna. And where are they 29? I know this is not This is not QVC. I realise that. You know what I mean? We're not trying to cheapen the product because I'm
payments, whatever.
you know. But basically, I want one of these because I have got such an. I've basically become so addicted to a phone. It's really bad, and I can't. You know, it's just a complete dopamine addiction, and I know that. And you know, it's like anything. It's like drink or cigarettes. You know, it's a terrible thing. But there's so many people now who are locked into that this kind of illusionary world. You know,
it's absolutely true. And by the way, it won't necessarily do anything about that blue light flickering addiction. But at least it can ground you in the meantime. And it does seem to, like people report to us, they're more calm. They don't need to look at the phone more often. And particularly, have you seen this with kids, right? And you call them and you go, oh, little Johnny, it's dinner. And they're on the gaming devices, right? So it's got a battery in it. And the reason why they're not listening to you is because they are disconnected from you, right? A child's biofield up until about the age of 14 is enormous. Their life force energy is so big. I mean, we do biofield dowsing and teach that as well. You can learn that on the website if you like to, everyone. It's so enormous. Even when they've got their shoes on, like an average adult, right, with their shoes on is here. If they're grounded to the earth, it's like 20, 30 meters. Child will be immeasurable. Even with the shoes on, it'd be massive. And this is what these paedophiles are after, right? These vampires. They don't fancy kids. It's nothing to do with sexual attraction. It's life force energy. That's what they're after. It's their life force energy. And whether or not, children are being abused, this is abuse. And it's parents are not being told what these devices do. People are being laughed at for 5G and all this kind of stuff. And our mission is to get one of these devices on every kid's phone, because in this day and age as well, kids going out without a means of communication is also dangerous. So we want to get these on every kid's phone. We have various community projects where we work with community. I mean, there's some absolutely brilliant guy. I have to give a big shout out to him, a guy called Gavin. In Manchester area, Stockport area, and we came to a deal with him because he wanted to protect the children on his council estate, and we did him a very good deal. So, and he bought 200 to give the kids on his local council estate. We've got a community project where we can also put these frequencies in water. If you drink the water, you don't just have to have it on your phone. If you put a sticker on, on your filter jug, or even on the pipe that comes out on your tap, although I wouldn't advise people to drink tap water, but the frequency goes into the water, the codes of hydrogen and oxygen basically go into you, and you are protected for 24 hours. So we actually have like an underground kind of ninja, what do you call it, kind of whatever it's called, like an undercover, like ninja project, where we're giving these. We got 500 made to put around the country in our community centres, doctors, hospitals, just behind the tap as it come out. So once we understand the technology that they are using, we can use it against them. And we will not be the biggest platform on social media, because we're not being obviously pushed because of just how effective some of this stuff is. But nevertheless, it's true. So I'm very grateful to be on the show today, because information like this has to get out somehow, and I thank you for doing that.
Yeah, well, it's definitely good to get it from a science point of view, because I mean, I think it's one thing to teach somebody something new, but it's also, there's a massive part of unlearning as well, where they've been conditioned all the time. I mean, look at what we went through just with COVID. I mean, the programming was unbelievable, and everything they tell you what to do. I mean, you mentioned Celtic sea salt earlier about the minerals, but they tell you, like, watch your salt, watch your sodium, don't have too much cholesterol, even though it insulates your brain and your nerves. Don't do any of this thing, put your sunglasses on, even though your body can't tell how bright it is outside, and then you get sunburn, and then they give you petroleum to rub in your skin to block cancer, which gives you the cancer. It's unbelievable. And when people kind of know you, like I've always been in like the pest control industry, which is not great for me. I've been exposed to a lot of pesticides and things over the years, but that's how people come to know you. That's what you do as a living, and then they can't hear anything else you said, that even though you read countless books about it because you're worried about how healthy your kids are going to be growing up or whatever. Like when I stopped vaccinating my kids and stuff, I got all kinds of hell from, friends, family, doctors, whatever. And it's a tough position to stand firm on that. The world's it's so deluded these days,
It's really important what you've said. Because I was speaking to somebody today and we were talking about various aspects, and they says, I want to keep my identity like a secret. I said, I made the decision after seeing what was going on that it is the lowest point of my life, just seeing the whole world, basically committing hara-kiri slowly. And I thought, I've got nothing else to lose now. So to the powers that be, that's it. I'm just here to fight. They put us in such a position we had nothing else to lose. So I can't get a job back in corporate now. I can't get a job anywhere now like that. I made this choice consciously, and so I speak out. I use my PhD, my knowledge. I jump on Facebook posts when I can, because it's important for people who have been in the establishment to come out and speak the truth. And I'm very pleased that Angus Dalgleish, who was my external examiner, that he spoke out, but I haven't heard a single member of the group that I was in. And there'll be reasons for that. And there'll be reasons of pension, pride, I don't know. But
sure, real life consequences, yeah.
But there's no way that as that rollout took place, and as they can see what's going on with the information that they've got, that they couldn't see what was going to happen. It's just not possible. It's just like when I hear, I'm sorry, but I'd really love to actually meet Robert Malone, the guy who supposedly invented mRNA vaccines. How can you have invented that and then taken two and regretted it? It's not possible, mate. It's not possible. Either you didn't really invent it and you don't really understand how genetic vaccines work, or how, genetic material can cross membrane barriers, lipid membrane barriers, or you didn't take two of them, or I don't know what it is, but it doesn't make sense. Nobody who understands this science would have taken it. It's just not possible. And then, of course, they layered in various other pieces of technology. And one of the very, very interesting things, so I speak out, and I'm not very popular, obviously, back in the corporate way. I did a great job building up my career, and so now I'm doing this because it's more important. What is more important than our children, our future? Yes. My reputation is not worth, my PhD is not worth the paper it's written on, as far as I'm concerned anymore. I use it to wake people up because it's important. And that's the decision that I've made, and I'll never regret that decision. And when you think about how vaccines work, you see, we were taught that they were live attenuated viruses, and I think to a certain point they were. But what happens? Let me just see let's just see how many people can put two and two together here, because this is like, it's not rocket science to figure this out. Back in 1986, a new theory in immunology was brought forward by an amazing, incredible woman called Holly Matzinger. And originally, actually, she, like in the 70s, She was actually a waitress, and she was listening to some scientists talk, and she was just really smart in the conversation, and they encouraged her to go to university. She went to university, got a PhD, and she created this theory called the danger hypothesis. Because at that time in immunology, it was self versus non-self. And she said, well, that just sounds a load of nonsense, because more cells in your body are not human than ours. So how do you justify that? And she came up with this danger hypothesis. She said, no, your immune system works like this. Your body has to know what is dangerous and not dangerous. Like when your baby's in the womb, when you're being grown, your mother is sampling the environment, and your mother's saying, right, this is the environment that we're in. Don't overload yourself. You don't need to go into allergy motion, because this is normal. Wheat is normal, gluten's normal, or whatever it is, right? And then when you're born, up to the age of 2, your immune system is educated itself through your gut, by the way, which is why babies, it's very important to go outside and go into the soil, right? So it knows your local natural habitat. And what have they done? They sterilise everything. And by the age of 7, your body again goes into another education mode. And what this, I've got a visitor, what this danger hypothesis said, if you want your immune system to recognise something and elicit an immune response, you have to give it a danger signal. So what this meant is if you wanted the body to create a danger signal, you'd give it an antigen or something to be immune to. Let's say, for instance, a virus. Although I'm just going to say for the record, I don't believe in viruses anymore because I've never been proven. But let's just wipe that aside for a moment, right? So you give them a virus, and then you give them a danger signal. So you give them something toxic, like aluminium or mercury, right? And these are called depots. So your body goes, okay, that's dangerous, creates an immune response. It's a small immune response. It creates, we used to have a chicken pox party, I'm reading there, yes, exactly. And then because you're doing it when someone's healthy and you only do a small amount, you get an immune response, but it isn't over the top, unlike being overwhelmed. Because if a body is new to something, it takes 14 days to get a decent immune response. But if it's a repeated immune response, so that there is memory, that shortens to like 5 to 7 days, right? So that's the idea, a fast replicating, organisms. So this is great. But what do they do now? They put human cells, cocker spaniels, monkey cells. So if you're going to put human DNA, dog DNA, monkey DNA into a vaccine and then give it a danger signal, aka mercury, don't we see a rise in people being allergic to dogs, where the immune system, which is called autoimmunity, it means an immune response to self. I mean, this is immunology 101. I mean, it's like the first thing you learn on the first day. And so when you give a danger signal and you're giving the own cell, so it just flabbergasts me that we've got to this point of time when immunologists must fully know what the hell is going on now. And, I am hopeful that there are things being done by various people to stop this, but I'm not seeing anything anywhere near as quick. I read Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s book, brilliant job, but it's not coming out quick enough, Mr. Kennedy. Nowhere near quick enough. Yeah. We want a reduced amount of thimerosal. Come on, wakey.
There's probably a lot of. I'm based in Florida actually, and there's a lot of pushback on both sides for RFK. I'm sure he's under tremendous corporation pressure. I'm sure he's under tremendous political pressure. But I mean, when you mention the danger signals, I mean, look at what they did with, was it the MMR, and they put egg proteins in it, and peanut oil. So then, of course, you get peanut allergies, you get egg allergies, and it's like you're breaking down the basic food groups of people and making them consecutively sick, so they become a subscriber with autoimmune disorders and all this other stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with gematria, the Hebrew hidden number system in words, but it's when you talk about putting SV40 or whatever, which is the monkey virus and all that stuff. It's no coincidence that the gematria for vaccination is 666, mark of the beast. That's somebody's come up with that for sure. And when you look at AstraZeneca and you break that word down, it means kill the stars. They're talking about your consciousness. So it's a very esoteric outside the realms of normal medicine. It's quite an anti-spiritual practice as well.
You're absolutely right. So then, I can talk about this on the physical level, and I can challenge anybody. Then we can have a debate. I need to pick up my books again, but I'll know more than most people on this topic, even from like 25 years ago. But it is about detaching people from the true connection to the organic reality and to connect them to the matrix. And people are looking at this and thinking, oh, it's graphene oxide and things like this. It's not, guys. You only have to pick this up and you connect it to the matrix. You don't want to connect to the matrix. You need to go outside. You need to put your feet on the earth, not on concrete, not on your grass that's got pipes going through it. We've lost our connection to the source of creation, and it is here. It's not. It's not in your bedroom and on your laptop. It is outside.
Could I just ask you, please, Dr. Joe, what's your thoughts on grounding mats on a bed? Are they gimmicky, or do they do something? I've got one, you see, and it seems to have done something, but whether it's placebo or...
Well, it can be both, right? Your mind is magnetic. Whatever you create your reality. You have this antenna called your pineal gland, and you choose what you're connected to. And if you do not choose, it will be chosen for you, and the controllers want you in the matrix because they're stealing your life force energy, for want of a better word. And by the way, this has been going on for millions of years, so this is not a new thing. Grounding mats, great idea. Do not plug them into your mains. It's dirty energy. It's dirty electricity. It's 50 hertz, not the right frequency. You need it just a tad below, slightly out of phase. Do you know what I do with mine? So what I did was I knew this, so I plugged it into the mains for a few days, and I thought, this is doing absolutely nothing. I've taught myself to become more energy sensitive. It's just basically being more aware of the senses in your body. And then I took the plug thing off and then got the wire. Thought, well, I'm going to connect it to the radiator because the radiator's got water and it's grounded. Put that on. It was a bit better. I then connected it to a much longer copper cable, just like one of the thin telephone wire ones. Put it outside my roof and connected it to an olive tree that I've got outside. Now, I chose the olive tree because I used a voltmeter, right? I got my voltmeter, put it on millivolts, put it on the ground, which isn't very high because a lot of our earth is not negatively charged anymore, right? It's like short grass. I put it underneath the bush. I have got a log, like a dogwood tree next to me, and I check those millivolts. But the nearest thing that I could get to was this olive tree, which had 230 millivolts. Now your cells should be at least 60 millivolts. So I was like, okay, that'll be decent. Connected to it, best night's sleep I've ever had. I literally put my knees on the bed to go to bed, and you're in a different place. So yes, use that technology. Don't plug it into the mains, and you will just experience it different. Now you can either measure the electrical stuff, but what I'm saying is, electricity is a byproduct of magnetism. There will be a magnetic field. You might not be able to measure the electrical charge that is being dissipated or one way, shape or form. But what you are doing is you're connecting to the Earth's magnetic field through the tree. Why did I choose a tree? Because its roots go deep into the Earth. The real true Earth with the right charge, etc., is at least a meter down, because of all the crap that they've been spraying for God knows how many years. So you need to go down. And so you know, please try that for me, Jimmy, and let me know how you think. But I promise you, it will transform your night's sleep.
So you basically, would you use a pure copper wire to wrap around the tree, Dr. Joe?
Yeah, you know, you can be. You get one that's plastic. You don't need kind of the wire. You just get a plastic cable because it's insulated because it will be outside, and just kind of strip the end off. Just get the cheapest copper wire. It doesn't have to be a thick one, and just, you know, twist it round the ends, and just make sure that the, you know, the copper bit is stripped off, so you can just put it around the tree or whatever it is. Or if you haven't got a friendly tree, get yourself a stake in the ground that goes down. You really want it like, you know, at least 3 foot down, basically a meter, and then have a spike in the ground and attach it to that, and then, you know, feel for yourself. It's different. It's a different level.
I've got a tree right outside my window here, so that's ideal kind of thing. A thin tree. But can I just ask you something? Now, a few years ago, there was a bloke I know, he was quite switched on with things, and he demonstrated this in Costa. Now, I don't know if this is gimmicky or not. He had a laptop. His laptop, he had a coaster that was plugged into a USB. Now, he put a glass of water on top of the coaster, and he claimed that obviously everything's frequency. He could charge this water to a specific frequency of anything, i.e., blueberries. He could charge the water. Is this a thing, or is yeah?
True.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know at the time. I was thinking like, you know what I mean. I was looking for the exit. You know what I mean? Taking his trousers off or something, you know. But yeah, it's yeah, that so I suppose everything we eat well, basically it's like Tesla said, sound, frequency, vibration. That's all everything is, and we're kind of encountering that.
That's it. So you're not really, when you eat the blueberry, really you are bringing on the frequency. You're bringing on the frequency. Let's say it's from a farm of glyphosate, right? And that's the dickhead going the wrong way around. But if you just have the blueberry, so you need something to counteract it, and that's what's draining our energy, is constantly counteracting this stuff. Absolutely. And did you know, just to kind of make yourself feel less crazy, you know, they did this experiment in the forest, and they were like, how do trees get so big but the forest level doesn't go down? Because if it is bringing up nutrients, which is kind of like the science tells you it is, kind of sucking in that carbon, magnesium and all the things that it needs to make the trunk, why doesn't the actual amount of matter in the tree go down when you bear in mind, you know, things falling, and it doesn't add up? And really what they've discovered is that trees are created out of air. The magnetic field of the tree creates the template, and then the air around it creates the frequencies, which then build the structure.
You bring me to...
Sorry.
No, you finish. Go ahead.
I was going to say, because you're going to even see that experiment with Kirlian photography where you've got a leaf, you cut it in half, and the shape of the leaf's there. And it's exactly like when you were a kid, when you had a piece of paper and you put a magnet underneath, and then you put iron filings on, and the iron filings would sit where the magnetic template is. And that is what I mean by quantum. It's a quantum blueprint. And if you want another understanding about what quantum and blueprint and magnetic fields are, if you've ever seen one of these pictures, right, and it's a picture of the Queen or something, I remember seeing one once, and you look like the Queen, but when you zoomed in, it was actually loads of little different pictures of random things.
Yeah, like stamp something.
Yeah. So I said to people, I do this presentation, I show this. And if anyone ever wants me to come to their events to demonstrate this stuff, and they can get a group of people, we're happy to come, right? Because you've got to see this and get it around in your head to understand. So I said, right, now this is a picture of I actually used Tom Cruise. And then when you really see it, it's lots and lots of pictures of random blokes. And I say, now, what is it a picture of? And then someone says, well, it's random blokes. So I went, no, it's a picture of Tom Cruise, and it's a picture of random blokes. it depends on your perspective. But if I want to change, you know, Tom Cruise's nose, for instance, I can't do it on the zoomed out picture. I have to change it, but from the arrangement of those random blokes. So when I zoom out, it looks like. Otherwise, what I'm doing is putting a filter. And that's the problem with today's medicine, and it's emulated actually in our world. Everything's putting a filter over the top. Really, you need to change the quantum structure of something. And when you do that, you change from the inside out. You don't change from the outside in. And that's a problem with physical science, physical chemistry, physics, and biology, is observing the effects of the quantum field and magnetic fields. And they're trying to make sense of it, which gives them is a crude approximation and works a lot of the time, but it doesn't work all the time. It'll work for an architect building a house and for maybe some other things, but it doesn't work for energy production, both at a cellular level or, you know, in a combustion engine. It doesn't explain enough. It's a crude approximation, and that's the kind of, I guess, Masonic, you know, the Freemasonic kind of infiltrated Kabbalistic science.
I have to apologize for my name there. I am actually a Freemason, but I'm one of the good ones.
Okay, that's all right.
But it brings me to a question I'm itching to ask now, because you brought up the bioelectric field under that certain type of photography. I forget the name of it, but what do you know about med beds? Because that's the talk on the quantum healing thing about revolutionizing medicine. Is you can put basically somebody that's had an amputated limb, and it will rebuild it with hydrogen and helium on a quantum level based on that electromagnetic blueprint. I don't know if you've heard of that. I've been digging for information.
No, I've heard of it. It's completely possible. The science is completely there. You know, I'm kind of connected with people around the world that basically during this whole awakening period have like downloaded many pieces of information. And we absolutely need some form of technology to be able to do that, because it needs some electricity to be able to, you know, because our bodies are electric. This is the physical. However, I would say for now, what we are teaching in our work at Crystal Water Experience is that the majority of healing, I mean, okay, your leg's missing. You probably need to do something quite drastic. But the vast majority of people, there's very simple solutions. And actually, the earth has many of these solutions. And in our level 2 course, we go through this story that Kelly Heinsohn brings, which is about this, I don't want to blow her thunder, but I'm just going to talk about this, right? She was doing these healings in the forest, right? And I mean, this is our natural medbeds. It's the organic medbeds, right? And there was one of her friends her father was really elderly. I think he was like 73, this diminutive guy, and Kelly's 6 foot, right? And she said, my dad wants to go back to India, but he's really sick and he can hardly walk. Can you help him? And she goes, well, I can try. Will he go into the forest with me? And the daughter was like, yeah, he trusts you. Anyway, so she was recovering from 2 fatal illnesses, which, spoiler alert, she never died from, because she healed herself in the forest. And they were both hobbling to this destination, you know, could barely walk. She brought a trowel with her, and she was talking to this guy, and she was digging him like a person-shaped hole. And this guy, she was like, oh, he's quite trusting, isn't he? Anyway, she got this guy to go and lie in this hole. She even sprinkled some dirt on him, like a shallow grave is the best way to describe it. And she put her hands over him. And what she was creating there was what she calls, because I'm the scientist, she's the standard person, as she describes. She's creating an energy sandwich with negatively charged. Your hands are negatively charged ions like the earth. And he stayed in there for like half an hour. Got up, fit as a fiddle, could walk. So she was still on crutches, recovering from her illness. And he just basically leapt out there, never had a problem since, went back to India, is completely cured. If they knew the secret to healing was to go, I mean, not lying in your back garden, like I say, unless you've done something to do with your, you know, your ground, you're not really earth. That the true power is in the earth. Then you will start to see what they're doing. And you can see all around, right? They are chopping down trees with the mycelium network, right? It's got to be old land, right? It's not these. And then literally putting next to them new trees. This is the reset. The reset's happening now, and it's to do with the earth. All the healing information we need, the 99% of people's healing is to do with connection back to the earth. That's why we do what we do, which is a quantum kind of shortcut. We've got these devices now that we make these tiny pendants. They've got copper, silver, gold, our quantum frequencies. It's got earth material, basalt, things like this. So you bring the healing into these little tiny pendants to kind of bring that back in, because Kelly realised we can't keep burying people in the forest, right? Because it's probably frowned upon somewhere. So we had to find a way to replicate it. Well, what I would say is that you can't find this, what I'm talking about, you can't find this in books. The books have been written by the controllers. So if you want to read, like, you know, you talk about esoteric knowledge and things like that, it will take you so far. But the answers are within, and the answers are when you connect to the earth. You start remembering this stuff, and you can break out of the kind of. I mean, and you know, thank you very much for sharing that with me, by the way, about your standing. And I have actually spoken to a lot of you know, Freemasons, and they do have a lot of knowledge, but you probably already know yourself. It's still a cage. You get to so far. It doesn't take you.
There is. I actually probably knew what I knew going into it. You know, I joined because I wanted that extra knowledge. That's why I joined, and I did learn some things, but a lot of it I'd done and dug up myself.
Exactly.
Can I ask you about something I think a lot of people deal with, is inflammation? I know. Are we okay running over a little bit?
No, we can keep going. We can keep going until Dr. Joe's bored of us. Basically.
Right. Inflammation is a huge issue these days. Obviously, things we eat, and a lot of it seems to be tying into gluten, or what, you know, is glyphosate poisoning and things like that. Does your protocol help with inflammation and that as well, or is there other methods for that?
Yes, the root cause is always the same. It's overload. It's overload. Your body. So there are two main states of immunological response that your immune system goes into. One's called a Th1 response, and one's a Th2. And the Th2 is about inflammation. It's a general response where you get your what's called your innate immunity, which includes macrophages, and it includes inflammatory molecules to try and deal with external factors, right? So what happens is when you like cut yourself, you have an inflammatory response because you don't know what it is yet, right? So all this stuff is flung at it. But then you start getting a specific response. You go, all right, we need some neutrophils, we need a bit of this, a bit of that, or whatever, right? The problem is in order for that to happen, your body needs to be in neutral. You need to be neutral. And then when something comes, let's say it's intracellular, something within your cell, and your cell's going wonky, right? And it's not producing the right proteins. It's behaving in a cancerous way. It's dividing too much. You want a Th1 response, which is basically, you're not behaving as you're supposed to. Apoptosis, which means, you know, the cell commits hara-kiri, and then it's got rid of. The problem is when you're in an inflammatory state, your whole body is in this Th2 response, and it stops looking inside cells, and it stops behaving and looking for, you know, dysregulated cells, for want of a better word. And this is where cancers can arise, heart disease can arise, because your body doesn't go into cleaning mode because it's constantly on high alert. And the way to do that is to remove the amount of toxins in your body, because toxin is just seen as an external, external thing for it to deal with. So it will treat a toxin the same way it will treat, like, you know, a bacterial infestation when you've had a cut. So it can't do its cleaning job. So take out the toxins, your body will go into balance, your endocrine system will start, which is like your hormone response, will start to work, you'll start to sleep, you'll start to dream. And I say to people, a key indicator of ill health is not being able to dream. If you can't dream, you are not producing DMT, which means you are not producing melatonin, which means you're probably not producing serotonin. And a lot of people don't dream, and it's a real big sign of health. Got a good question there from Marcus.
Yeah, but he's on a 9-day fast. And
check you out. That's just showing off now. That is. That's very good. Yeah, no, fasting is very good. I mean, my advice would be is if you are very mineral deficient and very sick, it's not always the best idea to dive into it. And so there's just a few caveats. Generally speaking, fasting is amazing for you because instead of your body dealing with what you're eating, it then can focus on, getting rid of flushing out what's in there. But if you're going to drink tap water on a fast and do a water fast like that, it's not going to be as effective, right? You just put in crap in. If you're the sort of person that eats very organically and naturally anyway, then your body is processing fewer toxins. So the effects on one person or another are going to be very, they're very different. But in general, giving your gut a break so that the biofield, so your biofilm in it's your biofilm, by the way, that breaks down all your food and takes in all the nutrients. You just provide the squeezy tubes, pretty much. It's pretty much the bacteria that do that. So to allow them to go back to their natural state, a great idea. So yeah, fasting, wonderful.
I didn't realise that I've heard this said a few times recently, but it's on social media. Is it kind of true that the Rothschilds introduced 3 meals a day? Well, but our ancestors would just eat as and when. But I've seen that, I don't know if it's true or not, but I've seen people saying it's the Rothschilds system that introduced we should eat 3 times a day kind of thing. And that's far too much.
Probably.
Yeah. But,
let's just blame them for everything, right? Because they are just generally like that. I don't know if it's specifically them, but
yeah.
There's a huge amount of benefit for just eating once a day. I think it depends on what you do as a job. I think it depends whether you're male or female as well. Our hormone systems do work very differently. But yeah, generally, it's not a great idea.
I'm inspired to ask you loads of weird questions, which might sound idiotic, Doctor, but is it right that we shouldn't really eat with stainless steel knives and forks as they pull minerals out of the food, and it should be like with copper knives and forks, or is that nothing to do with whatever?
Stainless steel steals your charge. It's the wrong charge. I did it. Listen, for that amount of time, is it really going to make much difference?
Yeah.
So I charge all my food up. Right. This, by the way, and we do it in a number of different ways. We've got this. We've got water sprays. It's the water. Everything I cook with has been charged up quantumly with our stuff, so it's going the right way. But this, we also, I mean, I suppose it's a decoration for the room. It's harmonising my environment here, but it's also a charging plate. So frankly, my food is so charged up that putting my knife and fork made of stainless steel in a few times is not going to do any harm.
Yeah.
However, I do really love eating my soup with a silver spoon because silver's it's great for you. I think that phrase, "I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth," is more about health than it is possibly anything else. Silver's incredible.
Colloidal silver. Sorry, Ian. Carry on.
I was just
going to say. Ian, it's over to you. Come on.
You go, mate.
I was just going to say with colloidal silver, that the water with particles of silver in. Do you rate that, Dr. Joe?
Yeah, I make my own. You can buy it, but you make your own. I'll tell you a little story. When my cats came to me, we got them from a shelter, and the older cat, she had cataracts. I put her on distilled water with colloidal silver in. 3 months later, no cataracts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was going to say, like the silver spoon analogy, it's almost akin to the people that are born into that rich society. They definitely get different information than we do about all this. You know, it's going into your oncology experience a little bit. How would you say, and this could get us shadow banned, I guess, if we have to word this right, the big C, right? How are they treating it versus, you think, what they truly know? It's probably night and day, I would imagine, but...
Okay, so we're very careful about this. There's a new law being come out on this as well. I think it was the 29th of March, which now said that nobody, even verbally, is allowed to give anybody any advice at all on the treatment of the big C.
So it's
I'm not claiming to do that.
That's what we're doing, yeah.
That is a new one. So what I would say to people with any disease whatsoever is, before you go and tackle any big disease, why don't you look at your environment? It seems crazy to take anything, any kind of supplements, and we know all about what's happening with fenbendazole and all that kind of stuff. Why are you taking all those and you're not cutting out all the toxins in your life? You know, that's where you start. You've got to start with a clean plate, because regardless of then what you do, your body's just going to see it as a toxin. It's already in the wrong immune state. You have no endocrine system, so your body's not detoxing. So you've got to put your body in that state first of all. So what do I think they know? Based on having done a master's degree in oncology, the vast majority of people in that don't know any better. They're not doing it to be cruel. They're doing it because they don't know. They are selected at university, the good boys and girls who are able to follow orders, replicate information, and memorize things. They're not recruiting people with who have got strong families behind them, who want them to do very well educationally. There's a whole load of social pressure. But it's certainly, they're not recruiting people because they've got critical thinking, they're very caring, are prepared to stick their heads above the parapet, and not the sort of people who fight for justice. They don't recruit those kinds of people. They want a better word.
I think we can tell a great deal about anything in the world when you find something you can't question. That's to be a huge, you know, it's everywhere these days, but anyway. It's
exactly right.
Speaking of endocrine systems, Dr. Joe, it's true that apparently I read that we're all ingesting around 5 grams of plastic a week. Now, I saw you write something about plastic bottles. Is it a really bad thing to drink from plastic bottles?
Right, so do you know how I first of all learnt this, actually? And it was before 2020. My cat kept licking plastic bags, you know, when you put them in the bin as bin liners. And why the hell is my cat licking plastic bags? And it was my young daughter who did some research on the internet, and she said, well, because it's estrogen. They're attracted to the estrogen. So actually, microplastics mimic estrogen. Do you want to know the reason why the feminization of men and dysregulation of hormone pathways? It's the plastics, because your body sees it as estrogen.
Wow. That's a huge implication across everything. I mean, even things like gender dysphoria and things these days.
Completely.
Can I ask you something about the vaccines? And I found a couple of things that seem to correlate to this, but I'm not sure. And I don't know if you come across it, but certain childhood vaccines, there seems to be 2 sets of them, and the boys get one with a female chromosome mix, and the girls get the opposite. Is there any truth to that? I've come across that a few times.
I don't know, actually. I haven't heard that.
Okay. It was something to do with the aborted fetal cells that they used to develop.
Nothing surprises me these days, but I haven't actually read that. That sounds pretty horrific. But also, you know, listen to all the things we've said today. We're alive and kicking. I am fitter and healthier now than I ever was, right? And I was a personal trainer previously as well. They have to poison us every single day because we are so powerful. We're so incredibly good at healing, and the answer to everything is to spend as much time in nature and put those blasted phones down, put those lithium batteries down. We are incredibly powerful healers. The earth is changing. We're going through a massive change in terms of the dynamics of the earth, and this will change everything. So we are coming to the end of times, but not in a way, a terrible way. It is a complete change in the energetic system, and the world has never seen this system. And you might have heard about Carly Spell talking about, ending the cycles of time. We're not going into the cycles of time anymore. We're going, cycles and circles don't exist in nature. It's a spiral, and we're going into the spirals of time. So whatever we've seen in the past and whatever we can look at in the past doesn't count for now. The rules are different. And that's why I say connect to who you are, connect to the earth, because we are going on a great journey, baby, where we will all be united, despite, whatever kind of, educational indoctrination, any national kind of identity has been before. Things are going to change. Things are changing. Have some faith. Have some faith in yourself. Keep yourselves healthy, look after yourself, love one another.
That's, it's been a trip talking to you, and I hope you'll come back on. I'll have 10,000 questions for you next time you come on.
Yeah, I think we'll have to script.
Sorry, go on, Ian. We keep talking over each other.
We'll have to script it next time with all the follow-up questions, because there's a ton of information came out today. Yeah.
I have one final question for you. Do you know vegetables? You meant to there's a thing called ozonating them. Does that get rid of the pesticides, or the pesticides basically in the DNA of the fruit?
That will that will work.
Yeah, because I've got an ozonator, so that's all it was, kind of thing. But have you any questions for the amazing Dr. Joe?
I've got a ton, but I don't know if we have the time. There's a lot.
Unless she's making a tea, we can talk a bit longer if you both want to.
I'm really happy to come back, and then you can test me.
I think you wrapped it up quite nicely in your last statement about.
No, I've ruined it with talking about fucking ozonating blueberries again. Sorry, Dr. Joe. Sorry, Ian.
That's all right.
You don't need me. You don't need me in this space.
You've been amazing.
But I want to buy one of your stickers, your EMF anti stickers. Which link do I click, Dr. Joe? Because I'm going to buy.
Go to crystalwaterexperience.com. Look for the Biofield Defense Shield, and put in thank you 10, and you get a 10% discount. They never run out of charge. They invented here, that printed here in the UK. None of this kind of, all these gadgets available on Joe's website. Yes, Marcus Fury, your 9-day fast, absolute god. Yes.
He'll be immortal with his sticker. He'll be immortal after his 10-day fast and his sticker. He'll be like one of the X-Men.
I think you wrapped it up quite nicely in your last statement with just about.
It was a powerful cinematic speech, and I fucked it up. But Dr. Joe, thank you very much for having us, being with us, coming on here. Ian, thanks again, and I hope you'll come back on very soon.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Love to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
everyone.
Bye bye.